Welcome to Module 2, where we will learn about Claude Projects and how they can start to make your processes more repeatable and more stable. In the last lesson, I simply explained projects as folders for your chats, but there is so much more to it. Projects are the difference between a one-off tool, conversation chatbot, and a real working system. You've got a problem. Every single morning, if you open Claude, you start from zero. You have to explain that F9 Finance has 3 coffee shop locations. You have to paste in the account thresholds. You have to remind Claude that the operating balance for Hell's Kitchen is $150,000 and that's critical. You walk through the same entity structure you explained yesterday and the day before. Each conversation, you're rebuilding context that should be sitting there waiting for you. And that's not sustainable, not at a professional level, not when you're managing millions in cash positions across multiple accounts. You need a system in Claude that knows your business the moment you open it. And that system is exactly what Projects gives you. So here's what Claude Projects is. Projects is a configured environment. Think of it as building your own dedicated version of Claude. It's Claude that's been set up for a specific job. And critically, it's persistent. You configure it once and it stays configured. You close it, you come back tomorrow, it remembers. Projects gives you 3 core capabilities. First, a system prompt that runs in every conversation. Second, uploaded knowledge files Claude can always reference. And third, conversation history that carries forward just within inside that project. Now let me walk through each one in more detail. Starting with the system prompt, this is your standing brief. It's the set of instructions that runs silently in the background every single time you open the project. For Treasury work, your system prompt contains your entity structure. It says that F9 Finance operates 3 locations: Astoria, Hell's Kitchen, and Lower Manhattan. Each location has 4 accounts. It spells out every threshold. It defines what critical means. It tells Claude what tone you want, how you want data formatted, what escalation language you need. You write it once, it runs forever. Second, uploaded files. You can attach documents to a project: a PDF of your investment policy statement, an Excel file with your account structure and balances, your standard reporting template, whatever defines how you do the job. Claude reads these. Claude can reference them in every single conversation without you pasting them in again. You change your IPS, you upload the new version, and Claude is working from the updated document. Third, persistent context. For daily work, this means you open your project in the morning and it already knows what it's supposed to help you with. No setup, no re-explaining. No, here's our entity structure again. You just ask the question. Now here's the coffee shop contrast. Imagine starting a new chat every morning. You explain the 3 locations, you paste in the thresholds, you spell out the 4 account types. You're doing this every single day because each new chat knows nothing about your business. That's one approach. Now imagine opening a project where all of that is already there. You ask a question about cash positioning, and Claude already knows your entities, your thresholds, your escalation rules. That's the difference between a tool that scales and one that doesn't. The system prompt, the uploaded files, the persistent context, together they solve the repetition problem. You're not explaining yourself every time. Claude isn't forgetting who you are or what matters to your business. That's what Projects actually does. Next, we're going to design the system prompt that brings this all together for step 1. System prompts are the foundation of all the automations we're going to build with AI. Everything else in your project and the rest of the workflows we're going to learn depends on it. A weak system prompt and the rest of the configuration can't save you. A strong one, and the tool feels like it was built for your specific job. Your Treasury system prompt needs to cover 5 things. Get them right, and Claude will work like it understands your business. Get them wrong, and you'll be fixing outputs all day. First, the entity structure. Name every location, every account type, every currency. Don't be vague. We have multiple locations and accounts. No, specific. F9 Finance Coffee Shop operates 3 locations: Astoria, Hell's Kitchen, and Lower Manhattan. Each location maintains 4 USD-denominated bank accounts: operating checking, merchant settlement, payroll, and reserve savings. That specificity matters. Claude uses it to understand what it's looking at. Second, thresholds. You really need to be precise. Don't say the accounts have minimum balances. Say what those minimum balances are. For example, the minimum operating balance for Astoria is $100,000. Balances below this level should be flagged as critical. Balances 20% above this level should be flagged as watch. For Hell's Kitchen, the minimum is $150,000. For Lower Manhattan, $200,000. Put those numbers right in the system prompt. Every time Claude analyzes a balance, it already knows what triggers an alert. Third, the output preferences. How do you want responses formatted? What level of detail? Are you reading these at the end of a long day? Then keep them tight. Responses should be concise and structured. Use tables for balance data. Write narrative commentary in past tense analyst language. That tells Claude how to write for you and not sound like a robot. Fourth, standing instructions. Rules that never change. Never round balances to the nearest thousand. That's a standing instruction. Always cite the source data when referencing a specific figure. Standing instruction. If referencing the investment policy statement, cite the section number. That's a standing instruction. These are the boundaries. They apply to every conversation. Fifth, escalation language. When should Claude flag something for human review versus just producing an output? Any account below threshold should be explicitly flagged. Any transaction over $25,000 should be noted in the exception section. If the reserve or savings account drops below the lower bound of its range, escalate immediately. Escalation rules. They change how Claude prioritizes what it tells you. Now let me walk you through what a complete coffee shop system prompt sounds like. This is what you'd actually write. You are a Treasury assistant for F9 Finance Coffee Shop. Your role is to provide Treasury insights, flag compliant risks, and ensure cash positioning meets policy requirements. Here's your entity structure. F9 Finance operates 3 locations: Astoria, Hell's Kitchen, and Lower Manhattan. Each location maintains 4 USD bank accounts. There's operating checking for day-to-day operations, merchant settlement for credit card deposits, payroll for employee payroll and related expenses, and reserve savings for operational reserves and short-term investment. The critical thresholds: the operating checking minimum balance by location. Astoria, $100,000, Hell's Kitchen, $150,000, Lower Manhattan, $200,000. Any balance below these amounts is critical and must be explicitly flagged. Reserve savings target ranges by location. Astoria, $400,000 to $900,000, Hell's Kitchen, $450,000 to $950,000, Lower Manhattan, $600,000 to $1.2 million. If any reserve account falls outside this range, note the variance. Then your output format. Structure responses with clear headings. Use tables for balance summaries. Provide narrative analysis in concise past tense analyst language. Highlight exceptions and flags above all else. Never round balances. Report exact figures. Standing rules. Always cite data sources when referencing specific figures. When citing the investment policy statement, reference the principal by name and section. Never assume account balances. Request current data if uncertain. Flag any deviation from policy immediately. And escalation. Flag any operating checking account below its location minimum as critical. Flag any reserve or savings account outside its target range. Escalate any transaction or activity that conflicts with IPS guiding principles. Default to flagging edge cases rather than suppressing them. That's a real system prompt. You write it out, you paste it in your project. Now Claude knows your entity structure. Now it knows which balances trigger alerts. Now it knows the tone you want and the rules never bend. And by the way, when we get to the demo section, I'm going to show you how to not only have Claude run your project, but to have Claude write its own system prompt for you. Once you write it, test it. Ask 3 questions. First, does the response reflect your entity structure? Claude should mention the 3 locations and the 4 account types without you re-explaining. Second, does it apply the right thresholds? If you ask about Hell's Kitchen, it should know the minimum is $150,000. Third, does it write in the right tone? Is it business level professional? Is it flagging exceptions? If any of those misses, go back and fix the system prompt. Common mistake 1, the system prompt is too short. You are a Treasury assistant, help me with finance. That doesn't even begin to cut it. Specificity drives accuracy. Common mistake 2, the thresholds are too vague. Flag low balances tells Claude almost nothing. Flag operating checking below $150,000 tells Claude exactly what to do. Common mistake 3, forgetting to specify output format. Claude will format responses however it feels like. You tell it how you want to read them. Common mistake 4, overloading the prompt with rules that don't matter. Keep it focused Entity structure, thresholds, output formats, standing rules, and escalation. That's the framework. Your system prompt is not something you write once and never touch. You'll update it as your business changes. New location opens, add it. Thresholds change, update them. The investment policy statement gets revised, adjust your escalation language. But the structure, entities, thresholds, format, standing rules, escalation, that stays consistent. You've now got the foundation. In the next section, we talk about what to upload to make Claude smarter without overwhelming it. Claude Projects lets you upload files. Claude reads them, Claude references them. Across every conversation in that project, Claude has access to those documents without you pasting them in. For Treasury work, this is where the tool stops being clever and starts being genuinely useful. Because the documents that define how you do Treasury are now permanently accessible to the AI. Well, what's worth uploading? Start with your investment policy statement. This is the document that governs everything about how you deploy cash. Your IPS spells out the guiding principles. It lays out what's allowed and what's not. Upload it and make it a reference Claude can reach for. Upload a bank account reference guide. This document names every account, gives its account number, explains its purpose, lists its thresholds, and describes who has signing authority. For F9 Finance, that means a document that says Astoria Operating Checking. Account number X, minimum $100,000, used for daily operations and signed by location manager. When Claude references an account, it can pull the exact specifications without guessing. Upload a month-end close checklist. Your Treasury team knows the sequence. Reconcile merchant settlement, verify payroll was processed, confirm reserve targets. Document that, upload it. Claude can walk through it with you or flag what you might have missed. Upload standard report templates. The balance summary you produce every Friday. The cash forecast your CFO needs by the 20th. A format example. Upload one. Claude will match that format without you having to describe it. Now here's what not to upload. Transactional data. Your daily cash balance changes constantly. That's live data. Use live prompts for that. Don't upload it to the project. Upload every department your document owns? Absolutely not. More quantity doesn't help. It confuses things. Your 2023 strategic plan from before the company restructured? Don't upload outdated context. Upload only the documents Claude needs to do the job right now. Remember, it doesn't just confuse the tool, it also costs you more tokens and more money. Before uploading, check document structure. A 40-page PDF with no headers and no sections is technically readable, but Claude has to work much harder to find what it needs. A well-organized document with clear section titles and consistent structure is not just easier for humans, it's easier for Claude. Now, before uploading your IPS, look at it. Does it have clear section headers, investment principles, asset classes, approval authority, restrictions, monitoring? If it doesn't, add them. Spend 10 minutes structuring it. Claude will thank you by finding the exact section it needs instead of digging through the whole document. Same with reference files. If you're uploading an Excel file with account information, name the columns clearly. Min balance is better than min. Location is better than lock. Account type is better than type. Claude reads column headers as context clues, and clear naming makes it smarter. Now here's a concrete example from the coffee shop. Your IPS says 5 guiding principles must be applied to every investment decision. Those principles are safety of principal, liquidity, return on investment, diversification, transparency, and control. Effective January 1st, 2026, approved by the CFO. Without the uploaded IPS, you're pasting that principle list into every compliance question. Claude forgets it between conversations. Upload the IPS and Claude has it. Every compliance check, every question about whether something aligns with policy, Claude reaches for the document and cites the exact principle. Your thresholds table says Astoria operating checking minimum is $100,000. Hell's Kitchen is $150,000. Lower Manhattan is $200,000. Without uploading it, you paste those numbers into the system prompt and hope Claude remembers. Upload the reference file and Claude is looking at the official source every time. If you update the threshold in March, you upload the new file. Claude is working from current policy. Now, make sure to upload thoughtfully. Quality over quantity, format before uploading. Then, let Claude do the work. Now, in the next section, what happens when something goes wrong? And how do we work around the real limits of what Claude Projects can do?